turn now to the coronavirus pandemic because the U.S. has surpassed 7 million coronavirus infections.
7 million with emphasis. You see how CBS is no different than CNN with their live counter. It's scare tactics.
And tonight, Dr. Anthony Fauci is warning the country will face a serious challenge if coronavirus levels remain this high.
This is all setting up an argument to keep the country locked down and scared so that the Democrats can blame Trump for the economy. By the way, Anthony Fauci, the media's darling, himself has said that lockdowns are unsustainable.
Now, it all comes as the Republican governor of Florida.
There you go. Republican governor. CBS couldn't just say governor. This was purposeful.
Is lifting all COVID restrictions on businesses.
All restrictions. Can you hear the biased outrage in Norah O'Donnell's voice?
And says the Sunshine State plans to have a full Super Bowl, which could bring 150,000 visitors to Tampa Bay.
And why can't these people decide for themselves if they want to attend? Do these people not have the power to make choices in their lives?
We get more now from CBS's Manuel Bojorquez.
Pandemic or no pandemic, Florida is back in business. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis lifted restrictions against bars and restaurants.
And who goes to bars? Young people who are no more at risk of dying of COVID-19 than of the flu. And again, it's a free country. If you don't want to sit in a restaurant, then don't go.
They can now operate at full capacity. He's also outlawing the collection of any fines for violating mandates like mask requirements.
Oh, CBS is so outraged by this. Why hasn't CBS ever reported that Europe's top health officials say that masks don't help? CBS never mentions dissenting views.
We're not closing anything going forward. We're going to be able to host the Super Bowl in February.
But some Florida health experts warn that any talk of normalcy is premature.
And the operative word is some Florida health experts. Again, CBS conveniently didn't bother to consult with any experts who say that lockdowns don't help and that we need for young people, like the young people they're showing in these videos, that young people should be developing herd immunity to protect the rest of the older population.
Nearly 14,000 Floridians have already died from COVID.
There we go again, fear-mongering. And what's that as a percentage of the 21.5 million Floridians? 0.00065% have died. And what percentage of these people were probably going to die this year anyway because they had all kinds of other comorbidities?
Would you say that this decision...
And here comes CBS with a cherry-picked Democrat doctor who's giving CBS the narrative that CBS wants. Blame the Republican governor. And they feed this doctor the answer.
Would you say that this decision seems based more on politics than actual science?
Oh, and how many times do Democrats hold up the science shield? We're on the side of science. The debate is over. Our science is settled.
It's not based on science. It's the kind of politics that's going to backfire.
Ah, the perfect cherry-picked quote that CBS wanted.
That fear is being realized in at least 8 other states, which are now reporting a huge spike in new cases.
Huge spike in new cases? Really? Well, I decided to fact-check this claim. Rhode Island. Do you see a huge spike in cases here? Nope. And if you think Wyoming is having a huge spike in new cases, Wyoming still to date has never had its initial surge in cases. Wyoming is still in 50th place as far as cases per capita, deaths, 86 per million. So this is a case of coronavirus finally starting to affect Wyoming for the first time. But CBS wants to use this distortion to make you to believe that, oh my God, this is a second surge. We'd better not open up businesses anywhere or we'll be sorry. And same thing with these other states. Either they never had much of any coronavirus infections or they had kind of a lukewarm surge in cases, and that surge is kind of floundering and maybe just now finally gaining a little bit of steam relative to where they were previously. But in the grand scheme of things, these states are still nowhere near where New Jersey and New York are. New York and New Jersey still lead the nation with deaths per million. Way ahead of these other states that CBS is falsely trying to suggest are having huge spikes in new cases. I mean, CBS is full of shit. Let me know when New York has a second surge, or let me know when you can explain why a country like Peru had one of the strictest lockdowns in the world and still has 968 deaths per million, way ahead of the U.S. with 629. And if there is a second wave and then the herd immunity threshold is higher, so what? There's nothing we can do about it. It's a virus. Again, lock yourself in your home if you're terrified. Don't go to restaurants. Don't go to the Super Bowl. Get tested before you visit your grandparents. We can all make choices. We don't need CBS telling us that we have to shut down everything and everybody in order to protect the few.
With more than a 60% increase over the past 2 weeks. Among the hardest hit, Wisconsin.
Again, Wisconsin, 219 deaths per million versus New Jersey with 1,826. Wisconsin still hasn't even had its first wave. So it isn't hard to have a 97.3% increase in cases. They've only had 12% as many deaths per capita as New Jersey. You see, CBS is playing games with numbers.
Up nearly 100% in cases, with more people hospitalized than ever before.
CBS is just never going to tell their viewers that Wisconsin was never, for the most part, really affected by coronavirus ever before.
Back here in Florida, the governor cited a positivity rate for new cases below 5% in his push to reopen the economy. But other estimates have that figure at about 11%, which is much higher than many health officials recommend to reopen.
Who are these many health officials? Again, CBS is cherry-picking health officials who agree with CBS's narrative and citing them as having the correct strategy.
Norah?
Manny Bojorquez, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Manny, for your propaganda. We love it here at CBS, and we encourage our viewers to vote for the Harris-Biden ticket.